Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. And on today's program, Quincy Housing Authority Director James Marathas will tell us all about their COVID-19 vaccination program that will begin next week. First, though, we check news for you. Mannett Community Health Center says that they will continue to offer their COVID-19 vaccination clinic at 180 Old Colony Avenue in Quincy, even as the state redirects vaccines to mass vaccination sites. During a recent interview, Mannett's CEO, Cynthia Sierra, said the state has assured them that their Quincy clinic will remain open.
Oh, that is an excellent question. And it's really important to say this. When we all speak about vaccine scarcity and supply and those chain issues that can happen with inventory, what we have consistently heard and what we've seen is that we do not have to worry. If someone has been given that first dose, they'll be given that second dose. And that has been a commitment of the governor and the command center that we have seen surely realized with all of their efforts. But the operational end of it, Joe, is also what you're speaking of. And I will say, when we were first getting our vaccination program off the ground, we were imperfect, and we're still improving our processes all the time. So you wouldn't necessarily leave with your second dose appointment. Joe, I'm happy to report that whether you're inside of the health center practices, and we have 5 of them, or you're over with us at 180 Old Colony, you will have your second dose appointment. So you will have that confidence that that you're going to know when you're coming back to see us. And with Moderna, it's usually at or around 28 days.
Now, Sierra cautions that vaccine supply is still limited, and appointments are required by calling or going online to Mannett or the city's website or the call center at 617-376-1470. Chinese language assistance is also available by calling 617-376-1298. The dedication of the new General's Bridge that's being built in Quincy Center has been rescheduled to the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on the United States this year. Mayor Thomas Koch says he decided to reschedule the ceremony from Armed Forces Day in May to September after consulting with Governor Baker about the status of the pandemic, and also because construction won't be completed until July. Koch says he hopes more people can attend the ceremony in September. The bridge will be dedicated to Quincy natives, Army Chief of Staff General James McConville, Marine Corps General Joseph Dunford, retired chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and retired Generals Robert Rand and Gordon Sullivan. In total, the bridge will honor 16 generals with Quincy ties. The $7 million state-funded bridge will link Bergen Parkway with Hancock Street and the new parking garage at the former Hancock parking lot. There are 2 new members of the Quincy College Board of Governors. Attorney Robert Harnais and school committee member Frank Santoro were recently sworn in to fill vacancies on the board. Harnais has been president of the Mass Bar and New England Bar Association and the Massachusetts Association of Hispanic Attorneys. He also served as acting Norfolk County Sheriff for a year. And Frank Santoro has worked in public education his entire career, including as principal of Quincy High School. He's also on the board of Quincy Asian Resources. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says the city does not need a new Department of Equity and Social Justice. Koch says he believes that current personnel and new hires can handle issues of equity in the city. Koch was responding to an ordinance passed by the City Council recently requesting that new department. That ruling came after a series of public meetings regarding race and police reform that were spurred by the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Ward 3 City Councilor Ian Kane felt the ordinance fell short of the goal.
I think it's a nice idea. I'm just not sure that it's going to do what people think it's going to do. So I think that we had, there were tens of people that came to speak and share their very, very heartfelt experiences, particularly about racism and prejudice. And I'm missing the connection between what this department, as defined, will do, and alleviating some of those experiences and sentiments that people have had, which they're very real. That happens, and it's unfortunate. It happens, and it's, to me, it's not something that's going to be eradicated, maybe at all. Certainly not with ease, and definitely not with this department.
However, supporters argued that the new department would show a willingness by the city to address issues of racial inequity. The mayor says he will support a new ordinance that requires city job openings to be posted on the city website. Quincy police asking for the public's help in solving 2 recent robberies in the same area. Twice last week, pedestrians were attacked and robbed on West Squantum Street as they walked to and from the North Quincy T station. This video, captured by a witness, shows a man fleeing after grabbing a woman's purse. He eventually tosses the purse, and the woman was not hurt. Nothing was stolen. A police canine was unable to locate the suspect, who was seen running through the parking lot at Manic Community Health Center. A man was also attacked and robbed of a lunchbox in that same area, and he was hospitalized with a head wound. In both cases, the suspect is described only as a white male. It is unclear if the same suspect is responsible for both robberies. Coming up, James Marathis of the Quincy Housing Authority. That's next.
Hey, Massachusetts, what do you want to get back to?
Giving hugs, seeing my friends.
Taking my wife dancing.
I want to get back to taking my kids on play dates.
I want to get back to Fenway.
I want to get back to partying.
We've worked hard, but we're not there yet. So we still need to wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth. Keep our distance, at least 6 feet apart. And get tested. It's free and available. We can get back masks. Learn how at mass.gov/getback.
Podcasting 101. Create your own podcast using the QATV audio suite. Learn the basics of the audio board, how to take phone calls, and add music from a CD, SD card, or your phone. Participants will also learn interview skills to help get the most out of your guest. To register for a session, email Carol Themin at cthemin@qatv.org or call 617-376-1440.
I hear someone go, "Didn't it come from you guys?"
Strangers cough at me.
Move away from me.
Someone spit towards my direction. All the stereotypes that we've worked so hard to break are just going to be reversed. And I won't let that happen.
We all have to play our part.
I donate my plasma.
I've been making masks.
We deserve respect as much as everybody else.
I'm a firefighter, not a virus.
I'm a mask maker, not a virus.
I'm a nurse.
I'm a delivery woman, chef, a neighbor, artist,
Bus driver.
I'm a doctor.
Fight the virus. Fight the virus.
Checking in again with James Marathis of the Quincy Housing Authority for an update on how they're coping during the pandemic and also how they're planning to move forward. So, Mr. Marathis, nice to see you again.
Same here, Joe.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. Last we talked, it's been a little while now. I know that the focus really was on making sure folks in your buildings were staying safe and also getting them food and anything else that they need. How has that been going?
It's been going absolutely fantastic. We're very, very fortunate. We've had minimal cases of COVID. The employees have been working extremely hard, keeping the buildings clean. We have a lot of temporary staff on hand, and the staff has been doing a great job. I can't say enough.
That's great to hear. Has there been some changes in the visitation policy since last we talked with folks who want to come and visit?
Sure, they can have visitors. We encourage everyone, obviously, to be wearing a face covering, sanitize their hands after touching any surfaces. We've been routinely fogging the buildings with a fogging sanitizing solution. We've been doing that every week to every one of our properties. I think it's really been extremely beneficial in keeping the COVID cases down.
That's good to hear. And of course, you're also in charge of the Hingham Housing Authority, right? How are things there?
We are Hingham and Marshfield, actually.
Okay.
Things have been the same there. We've been doing the same level of sanitizing, the same level of fogging, and very minimal cases throughout all three authorities. So we're very fortunate.
Are you getting the support you need from state and federal governments?
We are. Actually, last night we received notice that we're actually going to be receiving our vaccine allocation next week. So we're very busy getting prepared for the rollout, and we're anxious to get it going, and I'm sure the tenants are anxious to get it.
That's excellent. How do you anticipate it rolling out?
Well, first of all, I got to say that huge hats off to the governor's office, DHCD, Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, and Department of Elder Affairs, Emily Cooper, Ben Stone over at DHCD. Honestly, this couldn't happen without them. They've been planning on this rollout for all the housing authorities throughout Massachusetts, and Quincy is very fortunate to be at the top of the list. One of the first authorities to receive the vaccine. It'll be delivered next Tuesday to the authority, and then we'll start administering it on Thursday. We're going to roll out one building at a time. We're going to do drone apartments first. That'll be done on Thursday, March 4th. And together we'll also be doing the Hingham Housing Authority that day as well. And then on Friday, March 5th, we'll be doing Tobin Towers. And then on Monday, March 8th, will be Sawyer Towers. And then Tuesday, March 9th, will be Pagnano Towers. And then on Thursday, March 12th, will be O'Brien Towers. So we're going to be rolling it out building by building, and we'll be going unit by unit, floor by floor. So we're going to ask residents to stay in their units. Ask them to place a chair by their unit door. They'll complete a consent form, which will be completed prior to the day of the vaccination. They'll turn that consent form into their property managers by their door, and they'll be vaccinated floor by floor. EMTs in the fire department on each floor, as well as laborers to monitor them after the vaccine is given. Then 3 weeks after the first shot, they'll be given the second dose.
And who will actually be administering the vaccines?
Stop and Shop is who we have partnered with. So as far as the actual rollout of the vaccine, I have to give a huge shout out to the mayor's office. He's been extremely helpful in putting this together for the rollout of the vaccine and tying us with our partner, Stop and Shop. Also, Judy Morris, who's our in-house support services elder coordinator. She's been fantastic. So without the mayor's office, the fire department, Stop and Shop, Morris, and also City Councilor Nina Liang has also worked with Judy to provide translation services, which will be available on that day for all of our residents. So it's been a huge, huge cooperative effort. And I'm so excited and happy that this is finally going to happen.
Yeah, is every resident eligible to be vaccinated?
Every resident, elderly resident or young disabled in any of our elderly buildings are eligible, as well as any volunteers that work hand in hand with the Housing Authority, and also, of course, all of our employees as well.
Okay. And so as far as pre-registration, all they have to do is fill out that form. Is that right?
Yes, we'll be delivering tomorrow to all of the residents a consent form along with a letter detailing to them the day of the vaccine in their building, time that the vaccine will begin, and how we'll be moving through the floors. So they'll get that letter along with the consent form, and it have specific instructions of when to drop it off at their property manager's office. And take all those consent forms, we send those into the state, they get into the database, and then they'll be eligible for the vaccine on that day.
Okay. And now, does this include children also?
No, this is strictly for the elderly and young disabled.
Okay. Do you know actually how many doses you're receiving?
We're going to be receiving 700 on the first allocation, which will be next week, and then we'll be getting another 600 or 700 the week after, so that we can complete all those buildings.
Right.
So all in all, we'll be getting about 1,300 doses
for the first round. So do you know which one you're getting? Is it Pfizer or Moderna?
We're actually getting Moderna.
Okay, so it's easier to store, as I understand,
Right.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess from the day it's delivered, we have up until 10 days to actually get it. So that'll fit perfect with our schedule to get all the buildings done.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Hingham. What about the Marshfield Authority?
That's also being done. That's being done on 10th, on March 10th.
Okay. All right. Why was Quincy first, Mr. Morathis? That's quite a feather in your cap.
Well, we're one of the first. There's a group of authorities that are on the first rollout. I think we were quick to get our forms back in, and the process that we had to go through on our end. And again, thanks to Judy and the staff, we were very quick to submit in our forms. We were very anxious to get going. So we've had some obstacles with some of the employees getting COVID. So it's been challenging a little bit on our end. So we've been pushing and inquiring all the way through to get this going. So I think being first in line certainly helped.
That's great. Now, is it required that somebody get a vaccine in public housing or no?
It is not.
Okay.
We don't require anyone. Obviously, we encourage everyone. At some point, we have to trust sciences. We have to trust the fact that this vaccine was developed specifically for COVID. And from the millions of doses that have already been given, it's got a pretty good track record that it's actually working. So it's got a pretty high percentage of effectiveness. So that's encouraging. And certainly we would encourage everybody to get vaccinated.
Sure. If a resident already has been vaccinated, should they notify you of that?
Yeah. Well, when we pass around the consent forms, my guess is that, they will not submit their consent form, and hopefully they've already been vaccinated and we can take them off the list.
Sure. And then I'm sure you'll have folks monitoring for any kind of allergic reaction, just as any other site.
Yeah, we're going to be monitoring each floor with laborers and EMTs and fire staff, and be watching them for about a half hour after they receive the vaccine.
Sure. Is this typically what's happening in other authorities around the state? Do you know?
I'm not really sure. It really was optional for the authorities to participate. So I'm really not sure how many have and how many haven't, but we've been pretty focused on taking care of Quincy and our folks. So we're thrilled that this is actually coming to a point that we're going to be able to get it out there and get this done.
Yeah. Now, will that continue as the phases of vaccination proceed throughout the state?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm wondering if that will continue, as the different phases come up throughout the year, if you'll be able to continue that for younger residents. Yeah,
I hope so. I hope that they continue that for the family residents and for everyone else. It's certainly going to be, the more people we get vaccinated, the less of this virus that we're going to have, and we can get back to living a normal life.
Absolutely. Are you providing transportation for folks who wanted to go to one of the other sites, the mass sites, perhaps?
We're actually encouraging folks to stay in their unit and to allow us to go, unit by unit, door by door, to allow for social distancing. We really didn't want to pack folks into. We actually have a new shuttle that we purchased, and we're going to begin rolling that out next month. We've been holding off only because we didn't want to be the cause of a spreading event and have 12 people in a shuttle and then find out that the driver and the 12 folks all had COVID. And we've kind of been holding off and suggesting that folks do as little travel as possible until the point that we actually get everybody vaccinated. So we're expecting to roll out that transportation starting next month, actually.
Oh, okay. There's something to look forward to.
That too will be going building to building, taking folks shopping and to pharmacies and throughout the city of Quincy on a regular basis. So that'll be rolling out through all of our properties starting next month.
That's great news. Great news. What else is going on that folks should be anticipating?
A lot of modernization efforts. We've got some new handicap units being built down O'Brien Towers. We have new elevators going in at O'Brien Towers and Pagnano. We have a new roof going in at Tobin Towers and new elevators at Tobin Towers. And we've got a lot of big projects in front of us for this year.
I always like to ask you, what does the waiting list look like for the Quincy Housing Authority?
Well, the waiting list, that's a sensitive topic, Joe.
I know.
Process has changed, and now we're part of a statewide waiting list called CHAMP. And the state sets the priorities for the folks that are getting housed. And the waiting list changes every day depending on what the priorities are and how many priority applicants we have applying to any of the various agencies. So that waiting list changes every day and is kind of a moving target. So it's been a real challenge, especially in these times, to get bond and to get folks to send back their paperwork that's required in order to move their application forward. So it's kind of a little bit of a complex process that's kind of really slowed down the filling up of the vacant units, and the pandemic has not made it any easier.
Right. I know the moratorium on evictions is about to expire soon, so I'm sure you're.
So they say, unless they put that off, they've had some problems throughout other states. So I'm not sure whether that's actually going to end on the end of March, or whether or not it's going to get pushed out again. Certainly, people are in difficult situations. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people are struggling from day to day, and it's been a rough ride for a lot of folks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to have a little glimmer of hope here with the vaccines.
Yes, let's hope so. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yes. If folks have questions, concerns, what are some good ways for them to get some information?
They can either email, they can send an email directly to me if they'd like. It's jmarathis@quincyha.com. They can go on our website, which is quincyha.com. There's a lot of resources there. They can get in touch with any one of our employees. The application process is right on the Quincy Housing Authority website, and there's a bunch of resources on that site, so there's information available.
Okay. When time comes for vaccination, do they need any forms or paperwork or ID or anything like that?
They will need to have their ID on them the day of the vaccine. When it's administered, they'll need to show an ID. As far as the consent forms, we'll have gotten those beforehand.
Okay. And do they receive any kind of certificate or anything when they're vaccinated?
No, not from what I understand. And they'll be given a date on that day for when their second shot will be administered. So that'll be given to them on the day of the first shot.
Okay, very good. Anything else you'd like to let folks know about right now?
No, we're just looking forward to this. Let's get this done. Let's get people vaccinated and safe, and hopefully life can resume. Some good weather. We got some good weather coming, so it couldn't have been timed any better.
Yep, good weather. Kids are slowly getting back into the classrooms.
That's it.
All right, good to talk to you. Really appreciate your time.
Joe, always a pleasure. Take care.
You too now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Special thanks to James Marathis for joining us today from the Quincy Housing Authority. Thank you to our crew. Thank you for watching. On Monday, we will have a chat with Quincy School Superintendent Kevin Mulvey and Assistant Superintendent Erin Perkins about getting kids back in the classroom. And please remember to visit our website, qatv.org, for all of our latest programs, news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and much more. For all of us here at Quincy Access Television, I'm Joe Catalano. Please stay safe.